Dune Awakening is a very special open world game that really surprised me with its fun and creative skills, interesting locations to visit, and of course all the things you would expect from a game set in the Dune universe. From Sandworms to Ornithopters and the different warring factions, the planet of Arrakis is the perfect backdrop for a game like this. So I want to tell you about my experience playing the beta thanks to an early code from Funcom, who are also sponsoring this video. You can check out the game via the link in the video description, which really helps out the channel as well. And if you want to get your hands on the game early, we'll also be giving away some keys for the beta weekend that starts on May 9th. Leave a comment and send us an email with your YouTube username via input@JorRaptor.com if you want to enter. So while Dune Awakening takes place in a familiar setting, not everything is as you know it if you've read the books or seen the movies. Paul Atreides, the protagonist of the original Dune story, was never born, and his father survived the attempt on his life by the rivaling House of Harkonnen, meaning the two factions are now at war over the planet of Arrakis. The native people called the Fremen have also disappeared, or more likely gone into hiding, which is where you come in. Your character is a prisoner called in by the religious Ben Gesserit, who task you with finding the Fremen and awakening the sleeper, whatever that may mean, as this organization believes it is the key to ending the ongoing war. And while you are a prisoner by default, there are actually some choices you can make about who you were before you ended up here. I chose to be a former nobility, seemed kind of fitting considering Paul's absence here, and that gave me access to a couple of unique dialogue options later on that reflected my understanding of politics. Nothing that led to a new quest step or outcome so far, but it allows you to build a bit more of a character rather than a blank slate. Much more interesting is your final choice in character creation, your mentor, as this decides which skill tree you have access to at the start. You get to pick between Swordmaster, Trooper, Mentat and Ben Gesserit, which each grant you multiple trees of active abilities and passive buffs to help you on your journey. While you can unlock other trees later, more on that in a bit, your choice of mentor decides which skill tree you can invest in from the start, so it's a pretty important decision. And I was very happy with my choice, the Trooper, as their starting ability called the Shigawire Claw really showcases how versatile and fun the skills in Dune Awakening are. Basically, the Shigawire Claw is a short-range grappling hook that you can use on enemies to temporarily stagger them. But as you'd expect, you can also use it to traverse the giant rock formations that litter the desert, or fire it in front of you and combine it with an air dash, another Trooper exclusive skill by the way, to travel over long stretches of sand quickly. Another skill I unlocked early allowed me to throw a device that manipulates gravity, which means it's great for disrupting enemies, but you can also throw this bubble down and jump into it from up high to break your fall. And you can even combine these abilities, like shooting up from a gravity lift and launching yourself even further with the Shigawire Claw, so you're also rewarded for experimenting and being creative. That gravity lift is a skill from another tree by the way, called the Planetologist. This one was not available as a choice in character creation, so instead you'll have to find a mentor who can teach you the basics before you can invest your skill points into the tree. Upgrading your basic skills to a more advanced level also requires you to find a mentor or trainer, so these characters play a very important role in the game's progression. Luckily, the Planetologist mentor left a mission request at a nearby trade outpost, so after taking care of his business, I was able to unlock this new skill tree and that awesome gravity lift. You're gonna be coming back to these trade outposts regularly by the way, as next to a contract board where you can accept new missions, there's also a vendor selling useful resources and ammo, a garage to temporarily store your vehicles, and as you progress, you will also find faction NPCs that allow you to ally with one of the great houses on Arrakis. And by the way, if you enjoyed the video so far, it would be awesome if you could leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. So while the houses will play a major role in Dune Awakening's endgame, which was not part of the beta by the way, even early on the world is still full of potential dangers. Many scavengers have made their homes in abandoned caves or run-down camps, and they are not looking to negotiate with you. Luckily, you'll have an arsenal of both melee and ranged weapons to defend yourself, which are made extra interesting in this setting. In case you don't know, Dune is an interesting take on science fiction warfare, where shields work in such a way that regular firearms have become redundant. A shield stops an incoming object based on how quick it is moving, meaning a fast traveling bullet or a quick slash of a knife will be intercepted by it. So while you can deplete a shield by just hitting an enemy over and over, you can also use tricks or attacks that bypass these shields instead. With melee weapons for example, you get a slow attack instead of a heavy attack, where you carefully push your your knife through an enemy's defenses without triggering their shield. Later you'll also be able to craft special disruptor ranged weapons that neutralize shields much quicker, but in the early hours I recommend keeping a melee weapon at the ready in case you encounter a shielded enemy. Not all enemies are shielded of course, which means you're free to shoot them or unleash your abilities on them. As well, I talked about their uses in traversal, they're of course great in combat too. That gravity lift I mentioned earlier can be great to get the drop on enemies too, and while there are a ton of fancy sci-fi gadgets, more regular abilities like frag grenades are also part of your ability tree. Early weapons and ammo are cheap to craft too, so you can play guns blazing without having to worry about those, and enemies often drop some ammo too to keep you supplied as well. Depending on where you're going, you might want to stock up though, as some points of interest practically function like a mini dungeon, like a crashed spaceship or an abandoned Imperial laboratory. These come with their own stories, like the lab has a holographic projection of someone telling you what the purpose of the lab was, and they also contain unique loot only found in those locations. This includes specific resources, but there's also a special loot chest near the end as well that often contains schematics for a unique weapon or a piece of gear. These need to be taken back to your base and crafted at a fabricator, provided you have the required resources to make it of course. And let's talk about resources actually, as while questing, exploration and traversal all feel right at home, Dune Awakening also has survival and building elements that are part of the gameplay loop. And I have to be honest, normally these are the parts I enjoy the least, but Dune has done some interesting things that made gathering resources a lot more fun to me. For starters, you don't have a pickaxe to mine, you have a scanner cutter combo that allows you to scan an object for weak points, which you then retrace with the laser cutter to break it and gather resources. Bigger objects like broken down vehicles consist of multiple parts you need to cut off, and just like your abilities, this thing is multifunctional, as some doors in crashed spaceships can also be scanned for weaknesses and cut open. So that already makes gathering rocks and ore much more engaging than simply holding a button. But the real star of the show is the main resource you should be worrying about: water. Yeah, it might not come as a surprise that staying hydrated is pretty important on a planet that consists mostly of desert, and luckily there are many ways in which you can keep yourself from getting thirsty. You can simply buy a cup of water at the trade post I mentioned, or craft a still suit, a special type of armor that stores body moisture so you can drink it later. Very tasty. Some plants out in the world also have dew on them that you can drink, but these will only get you so far. The best way of getting water, at least early, is by building a blood extractor, killing an enemy, then draining their blood and storing it in your purifier back home in order to turn it into water. You can also drink the blood as is at a penalty to your health, but personally I think turning someone into tap water is the way to go. But dehydration is far from the only thing you need to worry about, as staying in the open sun will cause heat strokes, and if you're also traveling in open sand, you need to keep both eyes open for the shy hulud. You'll see an indicator on screen when your movement is starting to draw its attention, and once it turns red, you'll see this massive sandworm appear from beneath the desert, which is your sign to get to solid ground where it can't reach you. While they rarely catch you by surprise, you do really want to pay attention to a sandworm when it shows up, as they are very fast for their size and incredibly dangerous. When a normal enemy kills you, you drop your backpack and can reloot your stuff by simply going back to that location. When the worm eats you though, yeah, good luck getting your stuff back, because that backpack is gone. Now I really enjoyed these mechanics, not just because they make sense in the setting, but also because it makes exploration more tense and enjoyable. It almost feels like you're playing a stealth game but against the world, sticking to the shadows and avoiding open sands as much as possible, while trying to get to your destination before your water supply runs out. And of course there are many distractions along the way, including dynamic events like crashing spaceships that can be looted for resources. As you progress, you'll unlock more and more technology, allowing you to expand your base and even craft vehicles to help you cross bigger distances. While they were not in the beta, ornithopters will of course help you ignore any potential dangers of the sands, and that's but one of the many features that was not included in the build I got to play. There are social hubs, a special map where factions fight over spice supplies, faction specific rewards and features, and much more. From what I've played, I also hope that increased enemy variety is something that improves later into the game, as that has been my only major complaint so far. So yeah, I'm definitely very curious and excited for the full release, and if you are too, remember that we are giving away some keys for the beta test in May. So leave a comment and send us an email at input@JorRaptor.com if you want to enter. The full release of the game has been pushed back to June 10th, but pre-orders are already up and certain editions will get a 5-day head start. Thanks again to Funcom for sponsoring the video. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos on upcoming open world games. Leave a like on this one if you enjoyed it, and you can watch another one of our videos by clicking on the screen. I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.